Announced by the SEC, voluntary in-person athletics activities may resume on SEC campuses at the discretion of each university beginning June 8th, under strict supervision of designated university personnel and safety guidelines developed by each institution. We knew they were meeting today. The vote has just come down. It appears there will be workouts granted starting June 8th at the discretion of each university. I want to bring back our Paul Finebaum joining us this afternoon for his perspective. Paul, your reaction to this?
This is a significant move in terms of reopening college football, Matt. I know it's a small step, but that's what you had to do because everything had been shut down. So it was expected, but it's still significant in the fact that we're finally moving forward. And what's so remarkable about this is that 4 weeks ago, you would talk to athletic directors and commissioners, and privately they were very pessimistic about getting to this point this quickly. That has all changed. It's a very successful move. It's a positive move, and I think college football fans are getting closer to seeing football at the normal time in September as opposed to some other bizarre winter sport that has been proposed by some people.
How much of this, because it tends to be a copycat thing, especially in this part of the United States, in the lower South where football is everything. We saw the ACC do it, a lot of ACC markets between South Carolina, which is where Clemson is, Florida, Florida State, in that area, Miami. How much of this do you think might be a reaction to what the ACC did, which was basically it's also at the school's discretion?
Yeah, I think it really the commissioners of the Autonomy 5, the folks that really run the college football playoff, have moved somewhat in concert with one another. I think the only debate was really whether the Pac-12 would come along. And in talking to the USC athletic director yesterday, Mike Bone, they're moving ahead a lot faster than some thought, primarily because the governor out there is moving a little closer to reopening across the board. So I don't think anyone is necessarily following the lead. I think for the most part, and this is rare in college sports, that all the different leagues, the commissioners of the 5 leagues, are moving in concert with one another as opposed to the opposite of that.
You mentioned the states, because if you look at the states, you've got Georgia, which notably has been open, Florida,
Sure.
Kentucky, Alabama, South Carolina, where most of these southern states, we'd seen them open and lessen the restrictions. When you look at this as a whole now with where these universities are headed, based on the people you've talked to, how much was this needed in terms of moving forward with maybe the football season starting on time?
Yeah, I mean, this was a critical. I mean, it may seem like a baby step to some people watching around the country, and they're saying, "Well, what's the big deal? Folks are just going back into the weight rooms." But it is a big deal because without doing this now, it would be very difficult to start the season on time, Matt. What I mean by that is most coaches have said 4 to 6 weeks, more 6 weeks than others. And they also, I talked to Nick Saban about this the other day. He said we need an OTA. I mean, that's an NFL term, but it's critical because one thing to remember, none of these schools had spring practice. Now, as I say that, 1 or 2 may have gotten started. I think Clemson had a couple of practices, but the majority of the schools in this country did not get started because it was too cold in the Midwest and in some other parts of the nation. So it's critical for the health and well-being of these athletes to get in there now and do some work and condition themselves to get ready for the rigors of the late summer workouts, which are done in scorching heat in the South, as you well know.
Let's piece this together, because I know now we're working on a weird calendar. You mentioned the spring ball. Some universities got it in, some didn't. We've seen commencements throughout the universities, throughout the country, digitally and virtually. So now we're kind of on uncharted waters because here we are sitting at the end of May when it's typically summer vacation. So June 8th, let's start there. What do we expect to move forward with the June 8th calendar as we then embark on late July, early August? What do we expect to get out of this?
Yeah, I think, Matt, once you get players on campus and it becomes normal as opposed to a quote-unquote new normal, then I think the ADs who make recommendations to the presidents, those presidents are going to feel more comfortable with the green light. There are a couple of dates to remember here. And I know the average person at home thinks maybe the media gets hung up on these things, but the conference media days are usually in the middle of July, all within about a week of each other. those have been scrubbed for the most part. The SEC has not announced this, but most have been scrubbed in person. But when you see the first announcement that these things are going as planned, that's a trigger to the next step. The next step then is opening of the fall camp, which usually comes last week of July. It's usually timed for the opener. So if Notre Dame, which opens the week before everyone else, they will start a couple of days earlier. So when you see those things start to happen, you're going to know this is not any longer a mirage. This is a reality. And I, quite frankly, am going to be very surprised at this point if these incremental moves don't occur, where you start getting players back on campus, you get the media days in the middle of July, and sometime between June 8th and the end of that month, I think you'll see perhaps an announcement by everyone that, yes, the college football season begins on time, which is what everyone really wants to see.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.